Creativity is defined as the tendency to generate or recognize ideas, alternatives, or possibilities that may be useful in solving problems, communicating with others, and entertaining. Through the whole course of humanity, creativity has been the key to evolution. The key to creating a better, more beautiful, more peaceful world lies in the creativity of man. Through developing our inner self, we can cultivate a powerful creativity within humanity and fix any problem that could ever be revealed. Creativity means meeting full human potential. It means stretching yourself to create something better. That is the flow of evolution, the flow to more. Humans have been around a long time. We keep creating within our generation, location, and worldview to make this a world in which we want to live. We create to solve problems. As we know, we meditate twice a day, and most people do it because they're looking to change something. Whether you're a student stressed from too much homework, or you're a soldier suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, people find TM to make life better. This is one of the main principles of this world. The nature of life is to grow. We naturally seek something better than we have. We naturally seek happiness. But when people start TM, do they really know how much this simple practice will not only affect them, but affect the world as a whole? When you practice TM consistently, your brain begins to change. You are slowly being transformed through accessing the unified field of creative intelligence. As you release stress in your physiology, you begin to cope with things better. Life gets easier. You begin to experience life how it's meant to be lived, happily. The essence of knowledge changes when you are in different states of consciousness. As most people know, it can be hard to concentrate on things when you didn't get a full night's sleep. But if you get a good amount of sleep, you wake up energized and ready to learn, work, or participate in everyday interactions that might prove challenging in a sleepy consciousness. If we have a deeper awareness of consciousness from both an objective and subjective standpoint, we can transcend the problems of today and create, from the unified field, the solutions for tomorrow. As Maharishi Yogi says, when approached by human awareness, the unified field stimulates human awareness in an evolutionary direction, and only in an evolutionary direction. Through the continued practice of TM, we are enlivening this evolutionary direction, the direction of enlivening creativity to produce more. Our world today has many problems that seem to have no solutions, many major issues that seem to be impossible to conquer. Our generation is faced with the unhappy reality of a society with fundamental flaws. Climate change, pollution, abuse of natural resources, loss of biodiversity, water scarcity and water sanitation, overpopulation, non-renewable energy, and terrorism are all prevalent in our society. Every person in the world today sees these tragedies unfolding, but who is doing anything to change the course of this planet? Who can even fathom a life without these horrors? How can we cultivate our creativity to tackle these problems and come up with more sustainable alternatives than we currently have? We have to think outside of the box, think bigger, expand our worldviews, change our perspectives. The ignorance of working for a personal gain has resulted in many of today's problems. Shifting your perspective from selfishness and looking at life in a big picture kind of way, through accessing the self, is the first step. We can go from a society focused on personal preservation to a society rooted in unity through diversity, with the effect of increased creativity in the collective consciousness of the world as a whole. Maharishi says it is narrowness of vision and the inability to accomplish one's desires that causes uncertainties, fears, and loss of self-confidence, leading to frustration and all unwanted values in life, which make life cry for peace. Our lives yearn for peace and progress through establishing a foundation of creativity. We need to look at the world as one holistic unit, and from there we can begin to create a better tomorrow. Starting with the whole and then analyzing the parts that need change is the key to success. It is important to activate creativity. Look for personal ways to make your life complete through expressing yourself and expressing your desires. How can you fix the problems facing the world? Whether it is writing, reading, dancing, music, acting, inventing, creating, teaching, learning, or any other aspect of personal creativity, we must nourish it, not hide it. We must culture creativity from the most subtle to the most gross, from the root of life to the fruit of life. Change leads to growth. It is breaking down barriers that allows for progress. We must break down the social paradigm to create a new world. We must allow for change. We must allow ourselves to be purely ourselves from the inside out. We must start at the level of transcendental consciousness. We must start within to create outer success. When structured in pure consciousness, not only is our individual consciousness being affected, but the collective consciousness is as well. The individual consciousness is a unit of collective consciousness. The sum of all the individual consciousnesses is the collective consciousness. So in structuring your consciousness from the deepest level, you're not only feeling the positive effects of TM, but you're radiating those effects to the people around you. Stress is similar to consciousness in the sense that you have individual stresses and there are social stresses. When we relieve personal stresses, it is seen as thoughts, dreams, and heightened emotions. But when society releases stress, it is because there is a concentration of stress that became too much for the collective consciousness of that area, resulting in natural disasters or tragedies. Through individuals learning TM, they're releasing some individual stresses, along with some social stresses. Due to extensive scientific research done on the TM program, an interesting phenomenon was uncovered in 1976. If you have 1% of a population practicing the TM program, you see that the entirety of the population begins to experience the positive effects of TM, causing the crime rate to fall. This discovery was called the Maharishi effect and spurred a craze of scientific investigation into testing the positive effects on the world. This study proves the holistic effect that TM has on the world. It proves, too, that TM increases creativity in society. For crime to go down, those criminals were being more creative and finding more evolutionary means to fulfill their desires. Creativity spurred the population to act in an evolutionary manner. Creativity was also studied as an aspect of two other studies that studied the increased quality of life and decreased crime. They were performed on the extended Maharishi effect, which shows if the square root of 1% of a population practices the TM and TM City program in a group, then there is a clear superradiance effect that takes place. Superradiance is what happens when people gather in a group to meditate. If the whole group is coherent together, it is stronger than just individual coherence. This principle of strength in numbers is mirrored in nature due to the n-squared formula in modern physics. N-squared is used to create a stronger unit. An example of coherence being stronger than incoherence is when you are talking about the sound that speakers emit. The amount of sound one speaker gives off is equal to 1. But when you put 3 speakers together and the 3 speakers have coherent sound waves, it's not only 1 plus 1 plus 1, it is 1 plus 1 plus 1, all to the second power. 3 squared equals 9, so the coherent sound is now 9, although there are only 3 speakers. According to research done by Dr. Orm Johnson, when the Maharishi effect was used within a society for an extended period of time, unemployment would decline, divorce rates would decline, alcohol consumption would decline, drug abuse would decline, patent applications would rise, degrees conferred per capita would increase, and more. By people coming together and going within themselves to the source, they literally become more creative. This was also proven by another study conducted in the Middle East. This is a multivariate, day-by-day study about how a group of meditators practicing the TM and TM City program could create radiating coherence within Israel and Lebanon. They gathered 200 TM City practitioners in Jerusalem for this study, but due to some unforeseen circumstances, the number of people practicing in the assembly rose and fell. This variation of numbers is shown on the graph by the dotted line, and you can see how much the numbers varied from day to day throughout the 2 months. The solid line is the composite index for the quality of life, and you can see that as the number of meditators increased, so did the quality of life. And when the numbers of meditators decreased, so too did the quality of life. This graph shows a direct correlation between quality of life and the numbers of meditators, from which is proven that when meditators come together to practice the TM and TM City program, they create a radiating coherence. When quality of life goes up, creativity goes up because people have less stress and can focus on a more rounded perspective instead of a perspective covered by personal strain. Through releasing not only independent stress but social stresses too, we can avert the danger that has not yet come. In Sanskrit, hayam dukam anagatam. We can avoid the large-scale stress release by coming together in groups and meditating twice a day to bring coherence to the world and structure ourselves in creative intelligence. With this solution, we are also structuring our personal consciousness to be more open, to think long-term, to meet our full human potential. Through meeting our full human potential, all problems can be solved and all issues can be resolved. Through Maharishi's technologies, we can ease the burdens that we feel today so that our kids can live in a peaceful world of bliss, not blunder.